is simply, what's in your fridge?
What's in my fridge? I mean, like, pretty standard stuff. Some veggies, cheese, you know. Got this really good, like, Japanese barbecue sauce from this brand called Bachan's. It's, like, sweet and, like, smoky. It's, like, exactly what you would think it would be like. And it's awesome.
Awesome.
Aside from that, I don't know. I got a lot of these vitamin water zeros.
Oh, yeah?
They're, like, my singing secret weapon because they, like, hydrate you like water does, but like I don't know, it just like feels good on your throat after drinking this.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. The that thing that I can never get the hang of with the hot sauce or with like cooking, if you're trying to do like a stir fry kind of thing,
right?
Somehow I don't know how they do it. I don't know if it's in the wok or something. Every time I go to like a proper restaurant where they do stir fry, it's always like got that smoky flavor to it. You know, that like it's because smoky is kind of thing like barbecue, but it's not that. It's like it's almost like char grilled, but it's in like a with like a chow mein or something. Like what?
Right?
How do you do that? And it just I can't do it.
I think like sesame oil might play a part in that.
I've tried.
Like that flavor.
Maybe I'm just terrible. I don't know what it is.
No, I know what you mean though. It's tough.
Yeah, like I think I need to get a proper wok and like season it. I was looking up all this is what I spend my time doing. This is
good stuff. It's good stuff to know. Yeah.
Hey, healthy body, healthy mind, except I don't know how healthy my stir fries are. But anyway, yeah, because that I was saying to the last guest, it'd be funny if I ask what's in your fridge, and it's like, what if you turn out to be one of those people that has like like body parts and stuff in your fridge, like full on, like. So
crazy.
Yeah, well, and of course that's if you did have body parts in your fridge, obviously you try and just laugh it off. So
just censor that whole part of the podcast.
Don't dob me in it. Yeah, my fridge has too much stuff in it that I don't have, that I can't use. Like it's all gonna go off before I've had a chance to cook or cook with all of it. So it's a bit of a waste.
Right.
But yeah, cool. So the funny thing, what I found funny actually is so I've actually been, or if I sort of put my hair up a bit, I've actually been mistaken for you. By actually, funnily enough, by someone that I'm sure you know, by Scott Kennedy from Bleed From Within.
Oh yeah.
So I was.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so I was at Download Festival Pilot, which was when the restrictions in the UK started opening up, and they allowed these like pilot events, and they played. I don't know if you saw about this at all. And then Bleed From Within were playing, and I bumped into, because I had not spoken to him like at all, but I bumped into, he was just happens to be wandering around, like all the bands kind of just mingled. It was really cool. Had quite a nice chat with him, and then I started talking about my band and stuff, and he was like, and he said your name. He said, "Is that you?" I was like, "No, that's not me." Like.
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah, well, I guess it's the beard, and like with the hair, it's just like
not
that similar, but like
I didn't even know he like knew who I was. Like I've worked with Davey from that band. Like he's done all my lyric videos, and he's done some artwork for me. But yeah, that's cool. They're so sick.
Yeah, they're awesome. Good. I'm literally tonight going to put up one I did with Goonsey. So
nice.
That's going up. Yeah, that'll be going up tonight. So
that's sick.
So yeah, but it was like Scott was so nice. He was I said to him, this is kind of, I think this is like a testament to how nice he is. Is like I said to him at the time, it's like I've got a band, I want to do what you're doing, kind of thing. I want to be playing festivals, all this. He was like, yeah, send it over, I'll have a listen. I was fully in my head thinking, nah, he's not going to listen. Sent it to him on Instagram. He checked it out. He's like, oh, I loved it. It was really cool. And I've bumped into him a few times since, and he's always been asking like how
that's
things.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's nice to see like how welcoming people, and I think you get further in the industry if you're one of those people,
Oh, totally. Just being like a good dude. Have you ever been told you look like Daniel Radcliffe? Because I've been getting that. I've gotten that several times.
I get that all the time. Honestly, all the time. Obviously, I'm English as well, so it's like That's
you
so
look
funny.
you look more like Daniel Radcliffe than I do. Like when people say I look like him, I'm like, why? Because the beard? Like
I can't tell you how much my friends are gonna love this moment. Like I get this so much. I was my old band, we've only toured in one place, which was in Ukraine, weirdly, like a while ago, obviously not recently. It was just something we got offered me, like, okay, cool, yeah. And even over there, in the middle of nowhere, someone shouted Daniel Radcliffe at me. And I'm like, what?
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then Rudy Ayub said I look like some camera guy on YouTube. I can't. And it was just like I've not had a good. I got one Orlando Bloom, and I was like, that's not even like. I wish, but like I'm not even. I don't think. Huh?
It's like, do you even know what he looks like?
Yeah, I know. It's like I'm like. I guess maybe like there's a small similarity, but not like. You know, yeah, I don't know. So anyway, that's that. I thought you'd find that funny because the whole it's fun. That's kind of come full circle to me. There, I'm saying that I've been told that we've been mistaken. Then you said the Daniel Radcliffe. I honestly can't emphasize enough how funny some of my friends are going to find that. The fact that we need to start a Facebook group for like Daniel Radcliffe lookalike sufferers.
I get it on like maybe every like 3 videos I post in the like somewhere in the comments.
This has honestly made my day because I'm yet to find another person. It needs. I'm gonna start a Facebook group.
Amazing.
Add selective people. Yeah. So I don't really know where to go from there now. That's. But yeah,
random segue.
Yeah, go on. I can't think of a neat segue into any of the things I was going to try and talk about in the podcast. So this is a great start. And I'm not being sarcastic. It is a great start. But it's. I'll be honest. I can't think of a reasonable way to segue. So I'm just going to ask you a totally different question now because my brain is not good enough to segue neatly into something else. Yeah, something that I was kind of that popped out to me when I was watching your videos and sort of listening to what you've done was. There's a lot of kind of unconventional sounds that you kind of present in your playing. Not in your playing, but in your tones and your kind of things like I think is it like a ring mod that you use on your guitar? Is that right?
Yeah.
Or so ramp or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So it's all done with the Axe effects.
Yeah.
With the ring mod, there's kind of like 2 main ways I'll use it. It's either for like an octaver effect, like you could set it to like track each note you play and then like basically oscillate that frequency at half the rate and then blend it back in. So it has the effect of an octaver, but it's not really an octave.
Yeah, okay.
And then the other way is like the car bomb thing, like the laser sounds. And
yeah, I've heard some. Yeah. They're cool.
It's so fun. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think my sort of my question was sort of what was it that drew you to so I can give you my sort of take on it and then I'd be interested to hear what you think about it because obviously with the way the world is nowadays everything's online and everyone is online. You've got to set yourself apart in some way. And is that something that maybe you thought, okay, I've got to find a way to set myself apart, or was it something that you just very naturally found that like you just liked and it just kind of came about naturally like that?
No, that's a good question. I think a lot of it like it comes from just loving like Car Bomb and like the crazy sounds they were getting with their Axe effects, but I'm also just like a big dubstep fan and like wanted to try sort of like getting in that vein with just a guitar and like seeing what I could do to sort of like push the envelope a bit on the sounds I was getting. So I think it was less of like trying to stand out and more so just like trying to make the sounds I was hearing in my head and just having fun with it.
I think that's the best way to be because then if you stand out from just doing what you want to do, then you're kind of safe in the sense that like it's safe as in like safe in the knowledge that what you've done is interesting and you're not just fitting a mold, you're presenting something that you genuinely like because then you're kind of at that point you're sort of susceptible to trends, aren't you, if you start just trying to be different for the sake of different. And I think it's always difficult on podcasts because I always, I'll say like I think this is happening with certain bands or whatever, and I never want to name any, but like I feel like I've noticed sometimes some people being different, and you think that's cool, and then others you think I think you're just trying too hard to be different now,
right?
And it's like you've got to do that, but
you just gotta like be genuine with what you're doing. Like if I did something to like try to be different and I wasn't like actually attached to it, like I didn't have that connection to it, I think it would be like really weird. Like I just wouldn't feel right posting that content. Like it's just got to be you. Like it's got to be what you want to express.
Yeah, I think that's important, especially in a world where there's a lot of demand to express things in a way that like the masses enjoy, rather than just in a way that you enjoy. I think the ultimate irony is if you really enjoy something and if you really put the time in, the masses as such will enjoy it, because not everyone, there'll be people that don't like it, there'll be more people maybe that don't like it, but there'll be even more that do, because it's you and it's unique. Right. It's funny you mentioned the dubstep thing, because I mean I'm one of those metalheads that like I'm not like a metal snob, but I do like if someone says what music do you listen to, it's like I'm not one of those. I listen to all kinds of music. I basically just listen to heavy metal. Like I'm not saying I don't like other genres. It's just like 90% of what I put on, 95% is metal. So but I can still hear these other things. And actually listening, as soon as you said dubstep, I could hear that in some of your grooves. I don't quite know how to describe it, but even in the non-dubsteppy things you've done, the things that are just pure like guitar, bass, drums, like
I
still hear those grooves.
I tend to gravitate toward like swing grooves, like just like having that sort of feel. It just like feels more natural to me than like just writing like straight ahead grooves. I don't know why. It's just fun. It's like that bouncy kind of feel. Like that's all from
the right. Yeah.
Like that's all from just loving dubstep.
It's a cool combination. I have to confess, I've really not listened to Carbon very much. I know of them, like I know what the logo looks like, but I really don't know much about them. So that's the thing. I'd be interested now to go back and listen to them. And he's stolen it all.
Oh yeah. Like everything that I'm doing, like anytime anytime someone's like, oh my god, like I've never heard that before, it's like, oh, this is just ripping off Carbon. Like this is right from Carbon.
Are you a Dillinger fan?
I am, yeah. Dillinger's sick.
I missed their last show because I think it was Download in the UK, and I can't remember what I missed it for, but I seem to remember it wasn't worth missing it for. I think I missed it for Slayer's last show that wasn't their last show. So like, I'm just like, well, hang on, I missed Dillinger, who genuinely aren't going to play again. For Slayer, who played probably like 3 more tours after that.
They're like, the stage presence that they had is like so ridiculous. Like there's a video online, like I'm sure you've seen it, like where they're playing like at a mall and he just like runs in like on the crowd. Like,
I have not seen that. You have to send it to me.
It's so wild. Like that kind of made me realize like, hey, like I can like have fun on stage and like just do what I want, within reason. But really cool stuff.
Yeah. And do you? So obviously, a lot of people that know you will know you from your videos online. And I sort of did a little bit of delving into. You've got a band as well, right? Kind of aside from that, what's the kind of? So, for example, I was speaking to Sophie Burrell. I don't know if you've seen her on Instagram. And the thing she was saying that her Instagram is very much like the goal is professional, creative, like musician. Although she loves the Instagram thing, her ultimate goal is to be in a band, writing music, touring. The traditional rock star thing, for want of a better word. Although it's pretty good. There's nothing wrong with the word rock star. But do you see Instagram as like a tool, or is it something that you fundamentally enjoy for what it is in its own right?
I honestly just love the process of like building up an audience of like people who just like what I'm doing, like just being myself and like having fun, like with whatever I want to express, and then just like having people know me for that. So I don't really see it as like a tool so much as like a vessel almost for just like putting out what I want to create, you know? I mean, like I am in bands, and like I have a gig tonight. Like I play bass for my friend Max. But I don't know. I don't think it's what I would like want to do as much as like being an audio engineer producer full time.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm interested because obviously everyone does, although a lot of people are doing sort of the online thing,
right?
Know, the online thing, whatever that is. But lots of people have very different reasons for doing it, which I find interesting. And I think it's I think the important thing is as long as you can maximize it without it taking away from taking away too much, because I think there's a danger for me certainly from, and it's a topic that comes up quite a lot, possibly because I bring it up quite a lot because I'm sure it affects me, is that danger of being online too much.
Right.
You know, that kind of the scrolling and the sort of how that influences your own sort of behavior. Like, so one thing that, again, another thing I sort of picked up on was that what the sort of the quality of what you're putting out, in terms of not just quality as in like creative quality, but I mean the videography, the production, the music itself is all at a high level.
Thanks.
And no problem at all. But of course, and there are quite often people who very talented, and they'll just put out a video of them just shredding a bit or whatever, just from like an iPhone, no mixing, nothing, just like straight up. Do you feel like, so there's quite a kind of, I'm going to try and make a sort of clever link here and tell me if I'm just totally missed the mark or not. Because I was looking at your website and it said that you studied at Berkeley, right, as well?
Yeah.
So because I spoke to Jacob Umansky from a bass for I'm sure you're familiar, aren't you? Yeah. And he also is a Berkeley alumni. And what I was going to ask is, do you feel like you have sort of some sort of drive for perfection, in the sense that, you know, you've gone to like what's kind of classed as like the top kind of music school, and you're putting out these really high quality things where there's a lot of work to be done to make that happen. And I think the question is sort of, do you define yourself as sort of a perfectionist, and does this sometimes work out to be kind of harmful, as well as obviously it has its positives for sure, because I can see them, but are there some costs to that maybe people don't see?
Yeah, sure. So I think when I'm, you know, creating content and like making it look like exactly the way I want it to look and like sound exactly how I want it to look, like there's definitely like a goal in mind, but at the end of the day, like I'm really just doing what I think looks and sounds good. Definitely like a perfectionist when recording and like getting takes and stuff. But I guess that's more of like a common thing. Like people want to like nail it. But like I don't know. Like I want to keep it more of like a professional sort of platform, and like not post that much like, you know, like real or like, you know, personal stuff. But like I'm not totally like against that. Like I just want to do what feels right and like still be able to connect and inspire people. That's just kind of my goal with Instagram.
Yeah. It's a really cool. I think like immediately just going on to it, because obviously like when I'm looking up guests and stuff, I always look at their social media and stuff, and you know, even just scrolling through without even looking at your videos, you can actually just tell there's that subconscious kind of I guess sort of your business mind. You look at someone's Instagram and you can tell immediately how much time they've put into these things. So it's paid off. So that's the I noticed that very quickly.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely work, you know, like even like on my stories, like I really don't like posting things that like I shoot on my phone. It's just like not in it's like not the way I want it to look. Like I just want everything to sort of look as good as it can. So I guess that's more like where the perfectionist part of it comes in, like just having like high standards for kind of like the image that I want to put out to people. Yeah.
No, that makes total sense. Like who else did I Dan McNally from over here in the UK posts. I asked him a similar thing because if you look at his Instagram, again, the production, the actual video quality,
crazy,
really high quality, yeah. And obviously, there's the music. There's even that aside, he could just be playing loads of zeros on it, But it's yeah, I was asking him a similar thing. So it's interesting to hear the kind of different takes on that. And it's cool because obviously I've seen that you've kind of got some recognition from a lot of the artists that you're that you might cover their song or something, or
right.
How does it feel to kind of get a bit of love from the from the artists you're playing?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely kind of surreal. But yeah, it's just crazy. Like Kiko from Megadeth started following me. I was just like, what? Like, how did he even like find me? But it's just like I feel like the music industry is just like smaller than I realize, and I forget that I'm putting stuff out there, so anyone can see it, especially with hashtags if I'm just blasting it out like that. So definitely grateful for that too.
Yeah. Matt Heafy followed our band a while back, and we were like, whoa, that was cool. So who's awesome. The biggest like starstruck moment, or like, whoa, that was cool that they followed me? Would Kiko be up there? I'm guessing he's got to be somewhere near.
Kiko, definitely. Nolly Get Good also.
Oh yeah,
yeah, just like one of my biggest inspirations. So feels good. Like
yeah. Well, so speaking of Nolly, is like his influence on production across like the metal genre. You can hear it. Like it's what I find amazing is there's been such a quick turnover between him putting out the records he's produced, and then people being influenced by them and producing like him. It's not like he was around 40 years ago,
right?
Still doing what he does, and people. I think there's something quite cool about that, where it's because of the way. There are pros and cons to this, but because of the way the internet is, you see things so immediately. It's not like things can blow up overnight.
Right.
So what's interesting is from my perspective is that you've got producers and artists and things. They're influencing in real time, like, and not influencer in like the influencer marketing sense. I mean, like they're influencing creativity while they're still doing it, which I think is really cool. Like you hear Nolly style mixes from people,
right.
Even though he's still around. It's not like if you hear a Randy Rhoads style solo, that we've had a while to figure that out,
Right.
So it's crazy that the way, I guess this is just an observation, really. I don't know what.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's people just like hearing a character in what he does, like just the way it feels, and like just physically how the sounds like hit your ears, and just wanting their music to sort of have that same like impact or snappiness. Like it's a very kind of distinct thing,
Yeah.
But I think similar things could be said about like Taylor Larson and like his style of mixing. Like it's very distinct, and it's something that I think people have been striving for, even with like CLA too. Same kind of thing.
So you're gonna have to clue me up on the last two. I'm gonna sound like such an idiot if I know who they've produced. So who do you say? Taylor Larson?
Yeah, so he did Periphery's second album.
Cool.
P2.
Yeah, okay.
He's done a bunch of other stuff lately too. So he's at Mixwave in DC.
Cool.
And then Chris Lord-Alge is like legendary, like Paramore, Daughtry, Green
cool.
Day. Yeah.
Wicked. Okay, so yeah, because it's cool. I think obviously the risk is that because of this real-time influence, like where you could listen to, a Periphery album, say the next one, whenever that comes out, you could listen to that whole thing, and within a couple of weeks have your mixes sounding like, if you really know what you're doing, obviously, you could start to take that influence in. Actually, even if you don't know what you're doing, you could start to listen in the right way. Obviously, there's a little risk that you end up with a bit of an echo chamber where like people are all just taking in whatever's coming out right now, which is obviously a bit of a risk. And how do you keep it kind of fresh in your, not just your production, but just like ideas on the whole? How do you keep fresh with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's easier than ever now, like with tutorials and like mix walkthroughs like being posted on YouTube for people to kind of follow along and take in. I try to just like pick out the parts that I like think are cool from what I'm hearing and like seeing, and applying it to, you know, what I do, but not like copying it, but just like being inspired by it and like letting it sort of guide how I shape things. But yeah, I don't know. Definitely like picking up a bunch of techniques from those mixers and like just, you know, seeing how I can sort of expand on it or like have fun with it. Yeah.
I think as long as you try and take in like a range of information, because even if you just take in information from like one or two producers, you're not going to quite mix it their way, because you might just hear that snare node somewhere that like you want to add or take away that maybe another producer might, maybe they even do here, they just don't want to change it, you know. So
right.
I think as long as you make sure to try and put your own stamp on it, I think, because I used to worry about like trying to learn too many songs from artists that I like, because I was like, oh, I don't want to just sound like them. I realized how kind of foolish that was now. So I'm kind of not too afraid to learn something. If anything, it's the opposite. I think, oh, I kind of want to steal a bit of that. Because I think if you learn it, as long as you are conscious of how you know, as long as you don't just become a replica,
right,
you're always going to have your own stamp, aren't you?
Like I think there's the sort of saying that I came up with that I keep trying to apply. It's like, nobody else has your brain. Like no one else can write a song that you wrote, you know, like everyone's mind like thinks a little differently, and sort of keeping that in mind and like remembering that there's an inherent like uniqueness in each person. That's really sort of helped me with that mindset.
Yeah, I think like there's a certain, once you get to a certain level of musicality, whether you know your theory or guitar tones or whatever, I think it's kind of open season. Like I think obviously there is a point where it's like, if you're not familiar enough with your instrument, you're not necessarily gonna sound. There's a chance you'll sound a lot like the next guy who's not familiar with the instrument. But I think I'm a big believer. It's the same with like when people talk about like best guitarist ever. I think there comes a point where like in terms of ability, where it's just like once you reach a certain level and it's not massively high, you're gonna sound like you, which I think is something people maybe. A lot of people I was speaking, I've referenced so many people in this podcast, so we're definitely on like a reference record count. I haven't even been chatting for that long. But Simon Dobson was saying, you familiar? He did all the orchestra for Bleed From Within's new album and Architects, and he was saying that like trying to find your own voice is an exercise in futility, because if you just keep writing, you will find your voice. Have you kind of explored that idea of finding your voice, or is it something that you've just found to come along?
I think it's been like hearing something in my head and trying to replicate that. So like a big thing I do is, you know, voice notes like on my phone, voice memos. And then like what I did this morning, actually, because I'm just coming up with ideas by like beatboxing it into my phone. And then like quantizing it, like lining it up with a grid, and then like writing to that voice memo. Like super weird way of doing it, but it's really about, you know, kind of finding the sounds in my head and how I want to go about, you know, making that into a piece.
Yeah, that's wicked. Do you find that obviously with the wonders of production and modern recording and stuff, you can get an idea sounding really crisp, like in no time, again, if you kind of know what you're doing. But there's also that issue of like constantly clicking around and editing, and you know, especially if you are a bit of a perfectionist, you're always tweaking, you're always changing things. Do you ever find that kind of inhibits the creative process, that tweaking and all of that kind of stuff?
Those are like two very different mindsets, and sort of converging them to work toward the same goal is tricky. So if I'm just writing and like coming up with ideas, I'm not going for perfection. Like I'm not trying to make everything perfect until it's written and I'm ready to do like final takes. You know, so I think doing a voice memo like that helps me a lot, because it's just what's going on in my head, like directly coming out of my mouth. And so writing to that is like, it's writing to something that just came out of thin air, like something that I was just inspired by without even thinking about technical stuff.
That's cool. That's okay. So I need some advice, because when I write stuff, it's very much a like, I explore it on the guitar. So the guitar is my instrument. And I don't really tend to hear stuff in my head before. It's not like I can hear what once I feel like the initial inspiration rarely comes from what's in my head. Quite often I'll sort of put a couple of notes together with a certain rhythm, and it will just, even if it's like 3 or 4 notes, and I can hear the melody beyond that. It's not like I can't hear a melody and I can't hear ideas. I can sort of pursue them once, but I feel like I need that initial spark. I don't mean just by accident on the guitar. Like, there are intentional practices that go into it sometimes. I'm trying to make myself sound smarter than I am, really. But how do you kind of go about, when you say sort of beatbox these ideas? Is it literally something just pops into your head like that, just a melody or a rhythm, and you're like, well, that's it, and you just start beatboxing it and whatever, and then
I mean, I'm like, anyone who's been around me like knows that I'm like always beatboxing something. Like I feel like I always just have like some kind of groove like playing in my head, just constantly.
Mine's tinnitus.
I have that too.
I don't know how I've got it, because I don't think I've been to enough gigs for it. I think I've just had it since I was a kid. I don't know.
For me, it's from not wearing earplugs at shows when I was younger.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I got my hearing tested recently, and there's no like hearing loss, which is kind of like, are you sure?
Yeah. Yeah. That's weird. I find it weirdly, sometimes weirdly comforting, because it's like I don't know how to put it, but it's like, if you know when they say when you're meditating, for example, you're meant to focus on your breathing. Yeah. I kind of think like, when there's so much going on in your head, weirdly, if I can just listen to just like a in my, it's a much higher pitch than that, but I can just sort of listen to that in my head. It kind of, like, if I'm trying to sleep or something, weirdly, it's like it's a thing to focus on, which I find really, I don't know what you're taking.
No, that's interesting. No, that's really interesting. Like, the mental part of tinnitus has been the hardest part. Like, just coping with it and like accepting that it's something that I'll just have forever. So that's really interesting, like focusing in on it as opposed to trying to like drown it out with like white noise or something. Because that's usually like, I'll listen to music or like try to play white noise or something to drown it out. So that's a cool way of approaching it.
Yeah, I don't know if I got it through. I mean, so I remember I distinctly remember being in the car with, I was getting dropped home from school by a family friend and his and their kid, and he was saying about having tinnitus, and I was like, oh, what's that? It's like the ringing in your ears. I was like, oh, isn't that just like what isn't that just what ears do? And I was like, oh, okay. So if I had that, and I didn't go to many shows when I was young, so I think I just had it, but it's weird. I think I just try. I don't like, for example, now I can't really hear it because I'm talking. And there's other noises just kind of around, and echoes and stuff. But if I just lie in bed, I can definitely hear it.
Like I have headphones now, and they kind of isolate, so like I can hear it in like the pauses, like when you're speaking. But like when I'm talking, like when I'm talking, it's enough to cover it. Yeah. But yeah, no, that's cool. The mental side of it is probably the toughest part.
Yeah. Do you is it something you've consciously had to kind of figure out how to get round, or have you just kind of just got over it?
Yeah, no, it's something probably like in the past year. It's been like a big focus to try to distract myself or come up with ways that I can help cope with it while I'm kind of noticing it, because then I kind of just forget that it's there.
Yeah.
But it's like, if I hear it and then like focus on it, then it kind of spirals, So if I could just do something to sort of draw my focus away from it, that's, something I've been trying to work on.
Yeah, it's weird. I think with in a world where distractions are so prevalent, it's ironic that it's so hard to distract yourself from something like that. Yeah, it's so easy to be distracted from everything else.
Right.
But then something in your own head, it's like, how do I distract myself? It's like, I know how to be distracted. I do it all day. Like
right. It definitely helps knowing like how common it is. It's not like something I'm just dealing with and no one else can relate and thinks I'm crazy.
Although people that have been compared to Daniel Radcliffe that also have tinnitus, I don't think that's a big Venn diagram. Like, I think we're one of few. The Daniel Radcliffe lookalike tinnitus sufferers support group.
Oh
it's
my god!
Exactly.
We both exactly. Be the admins, 2 admins, and then just have a huge Facebook group.
Yeah, yeah. One guy will join, be like, yeah. Yeah, I can't see that happening, but yeah, I wonder if he has it. That would be an interesting question. I'm not going
to. Odds are he probably does.
I guess, yeah, loud environments and movies. I don't know, maybe. I'd be interested to know if he starts writing heavy metal music. I'm just gonna like give up.
Yeah,
for whatever reason, he just starts. I don't know. So, with like again, going back to what we were saying about the production, the videography, the music, and music. Obviously, you don't just play guitar. I've heard you sing, and do you play drums at all? Just out of interest, do you?
Like, I could play basic stuff, but like I'm not a drummer.
Okay, I was just wondering, but I mean, either way, you've got enough things on your plate. And point being, kind of, do you worry that sort of being a jack of all trades in that sense? Do you worry that something will suffer for the fact that you're attending to a lot of things that you are good at? Like, do you worry that one of those might suffer through not trying to, but actually successfully, as far as I can tell, doing all these things? Do you worry that one day maybe you'll think, oh, I kind of wish I put more time into 3 of these things rather than like 7, you know?
Right. Yeah, I think with guitar, like, it's harder to sort of play like exactly what I want to play, and spending so much time, practicing vocals or mixing doesn't leave as much time for practicing guitar. At Berkeley, that was like huge. Like, my first like 2 years there was just drilling practicing routines, and I wish I could do more of that so that it could be more of like a flow of ideas. Like, my professor Lyle Brewer up at Berkeley, like, he, like, the way he plays is like so effortless. Like, if I could get to that in the way that like vocals are for me, that would be awesome. I feel like that's the thing that actually suffers the most is my guitar playing.
Okay, there's going to be a lot of people listening going to thinking, fuck, wait, he suffers with guitar playing? What does that mean for me? Like,
I mean, I don't really like shred. Like, I can't really do that kind of stuff yet, but I say yet.
Yeah, I'm always drawn to, I love a good solo, but I think for me personally, I'm more like Alter Bridge are my favorite band, and they have solos galore, but I'm still more interested in the songwriting. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of why Mark Tremonti's really my hero. It's because, like, yeah, he does the solos, like, and they're really good. They're quite unique, but I think it's the fact that he writes good songs. That's what I was drawn to. Like, good songs with, like, but you hear that riff and you still, as a guitar player, you're still like, yeah, that's a good riff.
I remember at the like music summer camp I used to go to, I remember singing Metalingus with a band there. Like, I just heard it and was like, this is so sick. So there's a video out there of me like 13, 14, like singing that song. Yeah, I've always just been drawn to like the groove, as opposed to and good songwriting as opposed to just like crazy fast stuff,
Yeah.
Although it has its place.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It has its place. Like, if you're, if you write a good song and then somewhere in that song you just want to hear like it's a really quick balance, or like a shredding solo, and even the non-guitarists, if they sit there and go like, "Whoa, that worked," the last moment I went to see Fit for an Autopsy in Birmingham, where I am in the UK, and that was one of those ones where, like, they're all very capable. They're all very, very capable musicians, but like some of the best moments are just the 4 on the floor stomps with that, and it just
just stuff you can works. Like dance to and just like kind of let loose, like that, like pop, almost like that pop, like club aspect is like what I try to apply to metal.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's cool to see. I think the thing is nowadays with like people are trying to search for other influences in other genres and stuff as well. And you don't even have to, you can even just absorb a mindset. You don't have to just absorb like the tones from pop music. You can just take in the mindset of, I want people to be able to dance, or maybe not dance to it necessarily, but like kind of groove with it, you know, or maybe dance to it. Depends what you're doing, you know. Just
like the way it makes you feel, you know, like it makes you want to like move.
yeah. I think like I'm a very bread and butter, like I think I get this from Alter Bridge, like guitar, drums, bass, vocals, and maybe some strings. And like sort of tonal stuff, but not like in terms of other major instruments. I don't tend to go beyond that. I think I kind of like the restriction. I'd be interested to hear what you think, but I quite like the restriction of like having like, I think in my head, if it's a good song with just that, then that's the fundamental thing. So I think I almost don't like to give myself that option. Maybe I'm just being overly restrictive, but I don't like to, for example, I don't like writing with ambient. I don't like writing ambient guitar parts, and that's no disrespect to anyone that does. But like when you wash it with reverb, delay, and chorus, and whatever else you want to put on there, I find that like anything sounds good. You know, you can, as long as it's in the key, and even if it's not, sometimes it just sounds good because of the tone of it. And I like to kind of pull back from that and like just put it on the acoustic, or like just a clean tone, bit of reverb, just so you with it, you know, and you can like, you know, sometimes you play a guitar and it feels really dry and just like it's not getting anything out of this. So I like a bit of reverb. But what's your take on kind of maybe pulling back a bit from this stuff and just going back to like grassroots acoustic guitar and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think from a songwriting perspective, like if it works with like just piano or like just a guitar, like, and that's a good song, I think that's really the first step in, you know, writing. If you're going for something that's more of like a song and, you know, less of just like an expression, like with, you know, a lot of screaming, obviously something like that doesn't really make sense. But I think for more just like traditional, you know, songwriting, that's like the foundation of all of it. So with my other band, Moving Paintings, like a lot of that will start on acoustic, and we'll kind of, you know, build that up into more of like a full band sort of arrangement.
Cool. So that because I was looking, forgive me, because I saw about an EP release later this year. Is that for Moving Paintings, or is that a solo? Is that something you're doing just by yourself, or have I completely?
So my band time. Yeah. So my band. I think it was in November of last year. We put out like a 5-song
sorry,
EP.
I must have scrolled quite far.
And then I'm in another band, No Shows.
Cool.
And so he put out an EP that I mixed. That was in April. So
cool.
Yeah, so that's been like his solo project, and he got a couple friends together, and it's like a live thing now. So we're writing now as like more of a band as opposed to just a solo project, which is very exciting. He's from middle school. I know him from middle school.
That's crazy. I've had a few friends who have been solo projects, and then they've realized, like, I mean, so like with my old band, I did like a lot of the songwriting, or like the majority of it. So like certainly guitar, vocals, and then had a lot of input on the bass and drums. And I think sometimes there is a lot to be said for. It sounds obvious listening to other people, but yeah, I think another thing that I've found kind of interesting watching you is that there aren't that many people that are good at the guitar and at vocals. It's kind of a weird, although you look at like people like James Hetfield and you think,
right,
after him, you think surely there'd be loads of them, like because he's such a like monumentally famous guitar and vocal guy, and there have been plenty since and a lot before as well. What do you think it is about like the kind of rock and metal world that you don't see so many of these guitarists and vocalists?
I think they both just take a lot of time to nail down. Like I was doing vocals way before I started learning guitar. And then I when I picked up guitar, I sort of didn't practice vocals as much. And so it's really been in like the past couple of years where I've like really worked on screaming techniques and like doing that in a healthy way. without hurting myself. And yeah, I don't know. It just takes a lot of attention in each area. But at the end of the day, it's like I'm just hearing sounds in songs that I like and trying to make those sounds and like perfect that. Yeah.
I think people get kind of nervous about singing because there's something a bit more embarrassing about being a rubbish singer than a rubbish guitar player. I don't know why. I think it's because it's your, like, if you say something embarrassing, it's more, you know, it's connected to you, and I guess your voice is like your. Is it more? Could you call it more expressive than the guitar? I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the human voice is like the most raw form of expression there is. You know.
Yeah.
Like when you have melodies like you would on like a guitar, but there's also words to it. It's like you really can't be you can't hide behind anything.
Yeah, I find writing, whenever I write lyrics, they're sort of quite exposing, you know. They kind of, you have to, if you're going to write anything, I guess you can write good stuff if it's nothing to do with you, but anything that you feel strongly about, I find it quite sort of, it's cool because it makes you, makes you think, and it makes you consider your opinions. But do you do much like lyric writing?
Yeah, so I've been taking on a bunch of like guest vocal work lately, like being handed an instrumental song and a band just, you know, saying, hey, like write vocals to this. I think it would be cool. And it's been really good practice with lyric writing and just creating something cohesive. Yeah.
What's kind of the process behind the lyrics for you then?
It's sort of just like playing a part like several times, having a topic that I want to sing about and knowing what the song's going to be about, and then starting there, sort of, you know, hearing parts in my head as I'm listening to the song, and like, you know, starting with melodies usually. It's usually like melodies and words come at the same time. It's not like I write lyrics first and then try to like squeeze those into a melody. Like there's no right way to do it, but that's just how I approach it. They come like together.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I sort of hear, like I can hear a melody and a sort of a syllabic kind of like a rhythm behind the behind the words.
Yeah.
Like not what the word is, but I can hear like it's a 3-syllable word. It's kind of here's roughly where the melody might go. And then I'll put it on like a MIDI piano, and just like the cool thing is, if you think the melody's kind of cool but not just there, you can change the rhythm a bit, or you can change the melody by like, it's quite cool. I think that's a tool that I've started to embrace a lot with songwriting. I think that is one of the pros from, because I was battling with myself a bit, thinking like, it feels like it should be more organic than this. I feel like I should be sat here with a guitar trying to write melodies, and once I've written it. But actually, you can so quickly trial and error like every note in the key and every note outside of the key, with any possible rhythm, bar some really wacky stuff. You can trial and error all of that. And I think that's as long as you don't let it drive the creative process, I think that's a really beneficial thing from production. I just hate looking at screens though.
It's funny when I'm listening to a part trying to come up with vocals, like the way different instruments sound like kind of suggests different syllables. Like you were saying, like not just like the number of syllables, but like just sort of like consonants that I want to hit. It's really weird how that works. But it's kind of like mimicking what the instruments are doing in a way.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like sometimes there are certain words that I know that I've put into songs before where the word works, but like it's more that it works because it sounds right. Like sometimes I've heard a word and gone, that sounds so good, and desperately hoped that it means the right thing. You know, every now and again you think of a word, you're like, what does that mean again? But it sounds perfect. And then it actually, more often than not, it in some way does work, I find.
Yeah, I mean, having like, you know, like a moment where, you know, it's like a downbeat and like everything just has to like hit like that. Yeah. I'll usually gravitate toward like b or like p sounds, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's really weird.
Plosive.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of just mimicking how it feels with the words that you choose.
What's the best word? I can tell you my best word, single word that I've got into a song, where it's like, how the hell did you get that into a song? What's your best word?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say nightfall.
Cool.
I don't even know if that's a real word. But I thought it sounded cool.
Yeah.
In the context.
Yeah. I suppose without context, it doesn't. I managed to get the word synesthesia into a song, and I was like, yes, I'm happy with that.
Oh, nice.
I can't remember the context because it was. I think the lyric is paralyzed in synesthesia, and I think it was the idea that because synesthesia is like when you know the idea of like when you can see, you can hear colors and stuff, like something can sound red, and I think it was the idea of confusing. I think that was meant to be a metaphor for confusing. I'd have to read my bloody lyrics again. Like, I can't remember. But that was my not proudest lyrical moment, but like I was like, I don't know how I got that word in.
That's cool. Yeah, the full line from mine is we laugh and smile as the flames turn into nightfall. I don't know. I literally just thought it sounded cool. I have no idea what it means. You know?
Yeah, but sometimes it just like it delivers a feeling.
Yeah, it's the feeling. It's like the vibe of it.
Yeah.
Do you have synesthesia?
Oh no. I mean that'd be really. I don't know. Would it be cool? I don't know.
I wish I had it.
I guess it depends. Yeah, I feel like it could either be really great or like the most crippling thing. I don't know.
Yeah. I worked on this sort of like VR project. I did like a Berkeley MIT collab course. So we would go to MIT like once a week and work on a game. And I had the idea of like coming up with a like synesthesia simulator where like you would hit different blocks like in VR and they would like turn a color and play like a certain pitch, like kind of how that association would work.
Interesting.
Yeah, I just wanted to like try exploring something like that.
Yeah.
Wish I had it.
I find I would hate the idea that I'd start to hate certain sounds because I don't like the color that I think of when or in reverse, you just don't like the color green because you hate that one song. And one song reminds you of your ex and you're like, I don't like green anymore now. Like
right.
That'd be the worst thing.
People like develop perfect pitch from that alone, which is crazy to me.
I know I have sort of like pitch memory. So I have a friend with perfect pitch and there's a couple of notes. I can probably sing you a D flat because that's the first note of Sweet Child of Mine. Possibly an A. It's songs that I have a really, really strong memory of, and possibly just like a low E from a guitar, just because like memory. But I wouldn't call that perfect pitch.
E.
Is that what you're going for? A high E on a guitar?
I think that's an E.
Yeah, that's pretty bang on. But for anyone that wants a, here you go.
I use A as my reference point. I just know how that note sounds.
Yeah, sometimes it's just memory, I guess. I could probably tune up a guitar, I think, without a tuner pretty close, but not like perfect. I don't know. It's weird how you can remember that stuff because you can't. I can remember how words sound and how things look. I can picture it or I can hear the word in my head. But I can't hear a pitch or a frequency. I can hear a rough, like, I can hear like a rough kind of pitch in terms of like how high or low it is. But I couldn't tell you what note it was,
Right.
Normally. So it's a crazy kind of world.
That's always blown my mind how we can like audiate, like hear things in our own
That's a good
heads.
word.
I think that's the word for it. Like being able to hear something in your head is like audiating.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
It's
just use that word.
Yeah, I think I just looked it up because I was like, what is this?
I'll trade you a word. Do you know what defenestrate means?
It means to throw someone out of a window.
Do you know what absquatulate means?
I think this was either an SAT word or I saw it on a spelling bee somewhere. I don't know what that means.
It just means to leave abruptly.
Oh, all right.
To absquatulate. Yeah.
It's a good one.
And they rhyme, so it's like, could you get them into a song? I guess if you are defenestrated, you're probably absquatulating. I mean, by default, you're leaving pretty abruptly. Yeah, you can't be thrown out of a window unabruptly. I'm like, how we're kind of rounding this off the way we started, which is great. There's a nice arc to this podcast of like seriousness. It sort of peaked somewhere in the middle, and then it devolved, and it's all my fault probably, which is great.
Both of our faults.
Yeah, seeing as we've devolved away from music a little bit, I saw you posted about hot sauce, and I don't really know much about hot sauce. I kind of like the flavor. Right, so hot take, no pun intended. I wish the flavors of hot things existed without any of the spice whatsoever. That's just I'd love to just have like there are so many curries that I just won't eat because they're just really hot, and I'm like, I wish I could just taste that without the spice.
Yeah, like a good hot sauce it's like flavor forward. The spice doesn't ruin it. Like it's not like the main focus. Yeah. I think. But there are sauces that like just have such full flavor and are still like pretty hot. And like I think getting that balance right is like very impressive the hotter a sauce gets.
Yeah. But how, like, because I went to an Indian restaurant in Birmingham where I live, and the curry was great, but like I was about 2/3 away and like, I'm suffering. Like I can't, like it tastes amazing.
Right.
I'm really struggling. Like, I wish I could just have that flavor without the hotness. I'm sure there's a musical metaphor in there somewhere. I don't know.
Probably.
Yeah. So cool. So normally what I'd do is I'd get you to now ask a question for the next guest and recommend an artist, but I also want you to recommend a hot sauce for me to try.
Ooh.
So okay. First we'll go with hot sauce. So bear in mind, I can do spice. Like I can do like a medium spiciness somewhere in the middle, like too hot and I just won't do it.
Okay.
What's like a good middle ground hot sauce? And bear in mind, I know sriracha, so like that's fine. I can have that. That's all good.
What kind of like flavors do you like?
Kind of. Oh, I don't know. It depends what mood I'm in. Like I love sweet food, but I'm kind of pretty varied. Like sweet food, salty food, like savory, anything. It's kind of just like as long as it's
okay.
Good. Give me a whatever you think.
I think the two that I would recommend are like the Tabasco smoked chipotle. I think it's either Tabasco or a similar brand like Cholula or something. There's that, and then there's also like the Bachan's like Japanese barbecue sauce I was talking about.
I need you to send that because I'm intrigued by that. Yeah.
Yeah, they make like a hot version, and it's like perfect amounts of hot.
That's awesome. But what do you put them in? This is the thing. I never know what to or in or on. Like, what do you?
Whatever.
No, that's not helpful.
You can really like put it on anything.
So like Chipotle, your Tabasco. Does it come in the little? Is it quite like watery? Is it like Tabasco?
No, it's like I think it's actually like Cholula or one of those other brands. It's like a normal sized bottle.
Okay, so what do you put it like in a sandwich or with your cereal?
I mean, just whatever you think could like use a kick. Like if you're eating it and you're like, what, this needs like a little more bite.
Yeah, burgers always a good
burgers, good stuff. Yeah,
for that. I really want a burger right now.
Like you could put like the Japanese one on like ice cream. Like people do it, but I don't think it needs it.
Do you know Heston Blumenthal?
I don't think so.
He's an English chef, and he just makes like the weirdest combinations of things. He puts like the most horrible. I think he made like octopus ice cream or something like that. I might just be making that up, but I feel like that's a weird thing for me to make up. But like he makes them nice. He's like a Michelin star chef.
Right.
But you just, I don't know. I've never been to his restaurant, and I don't think I will. No offense.
I mean, if it works, it works.
Yeah. That's
no
it.
Rules.
Yeah. So, cool. So, if you can think of a question for the next guest, as you can tell, it can be like deep and meaningful, or it can be nonsense, or it can be whatever you like. But something to start the next the next podcast. I'll be very thankful if you can think of something.
I think just a good like sort of general one would be like, what do you do to, find inspiration? Like if you're sort of in a rut, like what are some things you do to help yourself get out of that and just feel connected to the music again.
Oh, feeling connected to the music again is a good. I'm definitely going to make sure to get that part into the question as well, because that's a good look. Yeah. So sort of, I'll try and phrase that as neatly as I can. But yeah, no, that's a good question. That's a good. It's nice because actually most of the questions I've had have been like either food related, or I've like or relating to peeing in the pool or things like that, and it's just like. You're not making this easy for me, but that's a good one.
I think it's just such an interesting thing, like the different ways people deal with that, because it's such like a personal thing, you know, like finding inspiration. It's like so unique to each person. So just curious.
Awesome. Well, the good thing about these questions is, for me, they're a bit like the Netflix next episode button. Like, you know, you're watching something, you're like, oh, I guess I'll just watch the next one, and then suddenly you're like 5 deep, like, what? Where did my afternoon go? And that's what I'm trying to do, is trap people. There you go.
Yeah, it makes all your episodes like flow together.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Oh, I don't know. Flow is maybe not what.
Some sort of segue.
Yeah, a nice. Yeah. So cool. Lastly, I'm bombarding you with the short answer questions, but an artist you want to give some love to.
I'm gonna have to go with Delta Sleep. They're like a math rock band.
I think someone else has said that. I don't mean that in a bad way. Maybe they have this song Lake Sprinkle Sprankle that my friend showed me a while ago, and it's just like so cool. So that's awesome.
And also Car Bomb, if you haven't listened to Car Bomb.
That's wicked. I'm sure I've certainly heard the name Delta Sleep, whether it was another guest recommended them or if I just know them. I can't remember now, because obviously I get quite a few, so I can't remember exactly. I'll let you know if someone else did. Then you've got a new friend.
It's just like really cool stuff.
Yeah. Wicked. Awesome. And if you've got any last little things you want to plug or promote or say to the world, then have at it.
Yeah, I mean, my Instagram is I am MMune. It's IAMMMUNE. Thanks for having me on the podcast. This was awesome.
Awesome. Triple M could be like your wrestler name.
Yeah, no, like when people ask what my username is, I'm just like, give me your phone. I'll just type it in.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.